Okay, and we will volley back and forth as well. So actually, if we could go to a question on the phone from someone from the field.
I got one. Good idea. The person I guess is first.
Could you please identify yourself, where you're from?
This is Molly Bloom from Ohio Public Radio.
Hi, Molly.
Hey, it's Dan.
Good morning, Molly.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question for Mr. Heffner is, so looking at all this data, you know, more schools getting the highest ratings, gains in a bunch of areas, are Ohio schools doing better this year than they were doing last year?
Thank you, Molly. I think the evidence from the report card indicates that they are. I think taxpayers can take some satisfaction in seeing that we're getting good gains, not only in some areas, but basically across the board. We're not getting them in all areas, and as we move to a more rigorous agenda, we'll need to be able to identify and explain to folks what the new measures are going to look like. But for now, we can certainly take some satisfaction that Ohio's schools are improving and they're on the move.
Okay, and take a question from in the room then.
Looking at value-added data compared to last year, now we've got more than half of schools meeting. Fewer schools compared to last year are exceeding expectations, and fewer are not are coming in below. I guess first of all, is this a reflection of the new value-added calculation? And secondly, how do you feel about fewer schools coming in above expectations for value-added?
The question is on value-added and the comparisons. So, Stan?
Okay, so the question was whether or not the difference, because we had fewer schools exceeding the expectations, was that a result of the change in how we calculate? The answer is yes. For the statisticians among all of you, we went from 1 standard deviation to 2 standard deviations to determine whether schools were exceeding or not meeting a 1 year's expected growth. The reason for that was so that we could have greater confidence that for those districts and schools that we did identify as exceeding or not meeting a year's worth of growth, we had greater confidence in making that designation. So that's the reason for that. So how I feel about the number of students or schools and districts that were identified as exceeding, again, because we have greater confidence, we can certainly rely on those scores a lot more so than we used to.
To follow up on that, do you think this will mean that next year maybe we'll have fewer schools being ranked excellent with distinction because fewer are coming in above expectations on that?
No, actually, the question is, am I concerned that we might have fewer schools next year with excellent with distinction because of this new rule change? And the answer is we actually, with this new rule change, we still had a number of them, higher. So this will depend essentially on the efforts of the schools and in their abilities and successes to have students not only learn but exceed the 1 year expectation. So that'll be a new start every year.
Okay, let's take a question from the phone.
Jeff Hurst of the KRC-TV in Cincinnati. This concerns what the other person was asking about too, on the value added and the excellent distinction. This deals with one specific district, but it's a broader question because others have been affected by it too. There's one suburban district down here which, based on my calculations, is tied for second in performance ratings in the state. They're always in the top 1, 2, or 3, top 100 high schools in the United States in Newsweek. I mean, it's one of the, everybody acknowledges it's one of the best school districts in the country, and yet they fell from excellent distinction to excellent. And we've had this happen in other districts too. It just happened to be this one this year. And I think the complaint that some of the folks have there is that how do you move from A plus to A plus plus? Whereas you have some other districts that, if you go from hypothetically a B to an A, oh my God, you've done better than anybody ever expected. But it's an unrealistic expectation that you can get much higher than you are. You can always improve, of course. That sounds more like an editorial question, but I think the question is this system unfair to very high achieving schools, and the only way they can move up is if they drop down and then get better, quote unquote, again?
Well, thanks for the question. First of all, the school that you're referencing has every good reason to be proud of its successes, and when you do have when your district includes a high school that's in the top 100 in the nation by Newsweek, I mean that's quite a feat. Districts who are generally high performers are more likely to be excellent with distinction because they have already put into place the kinds of supports that are necessary. Sometimes, however, depending particularly if there's a group of students, maybe they're students with disabilities, or there may be other kind of groups of kids where the gains for them just aren't quite where they might be for all other students. For a particular year, that could be the difference maker. But generally speaking, districts who are generally high performers are more likely to continue to be high performers. Now, there are questions about whether or not designation should occur for districts in ways other than the value added to get to the excellent with distinction. That is a policy question that was addressed by the State Board of Education about a year or so ago. State Board at that time preferred to maintain a pure and value-added process, but I know the question still remains about high-performing districts having an alternative pathway, but at this stage that option does not exist for them.
Thank you.
Superintendent Heffner?
Yes.
The graduation rate and the standard deviation, those are examples, as you know, of the way metrics can move from one year to the next. Of
Yes.
course, what we're really, in a sense, interested in is what are the students doing, regardless of what you call it, from one year to the next. So can you say that based on what you're seeing here, there is a net gain or a net trend in improvement, since last year or the previous year?
So the question is, if there's been changes in the metrics, like going from 1 to 2 standard deviations for the value add, or the change in the graduation rate, can I say with accuracy that the results we're seeing are because of real student improvements, as opposed to just the manipulation of the formula? That'd be a fair restatement?
Not suggest that you're manipulating the formula, yeah.
So the answer is, the report card has measures that are either absolute measures or relative measures, and so you have to make the indicators that you see on page 2. Those are absolute. So the fact of the matter is, there's no change in the formula there. These are schools and districts who have in fact improved their performance. When you look at things overall, again, the 2 standard deviations simply increases our confidence and our reliability on the numbers. That we can trust them even more so. So the truth of the matter is that the graduation rate will change how we account for kids. That has nothing really to do with their improvement. That's just how we track and account for children. But by all other measures, Ohio students, by the terms and conditions of our current system, improve their academic performance over the previous year.